Welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're going to a place and a time that's pretty fascinating to me.
Okay.
Dover, Massachusetts, 1977, the Dover Demon.
Ah, yes, the Dover Demon. One of those cases that just kind of sticks with you. It's got all the elements of a classic mystery. Small town, multiple witnesses, a creature that defies easy explanation.
Right. And it's not just the strangeness of the creature itself, but the context of the sightings.
Exactly. I mean, Dover, Massachusetts in 1977 wasn't exactly a hotbed of paranormal activity.
Not exactly. So when these teenagers started reporting, seeing this thing, it really shook things up. People were scared, intrigued, confused.
Yeah. I mean, imagine living in this quiet New England town and suddenly you're hearing stories about this bizarre creature lurking in the shadows.
It's like something out of a Stephen King novel.
Yeah.
Except this actually happened, or at least people say it did. And that's what we're here to dive in today. To sift through the accounts, the theories, the evidence, if there is any.
And try to make some sense of it all.
Right. So let's start at the beginning. The night of April 21st, 1977.
Okay. Setting the stage.
A teenager named Bill Bartlett was driving home late at night when he saw something on a stone wall by the side of the road.
And this wasn't just a fleeting glimpse. He had his headlights on it. He had a good look.
Yeah, and what he described, it wasn't anything you'd find in a zoology textbook.
No, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
He said it was about 3 or 4 feet tall, with this large, hairless head, almost pear-shaped, no mouth, just these huge, glowing orange eyes. And its body was thin, kind of spindly. He said the skin was peach-colored but had this weird texture like wet sandpaper.
I've seen Bartlett's drawing, the one he made right after the encounter.
Mm-hmm.
It's chilling.
I bet it really captures that otherworldly quality, the way the creature seemed both familiar and totally alien.
Yeah, like something out of a nightmare.
And it's not just the appearance that's unsettling, it's the way the witnesses describe its behavior.
Right. They all talk about this stillness, this sense of deliberate movement, as if the creature was observing them, studying them. It wasn't aggressive. It didn't try to attack, but there was an intelligence behind those glowing eyes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. Like, it knew you were there, it was watching you, but not in a predatory way. More like a scientist observing a specimen.
Exactly. Which makes it even creepier in a way.
Yeah.
So we have this bizarre creature seen by a credible witness. But could it have been a case of mistaken identity?
Well, that's always the first question to ask in these cases. Could it have been a moose calf, or a dog, or some other animal seen in the dim light?
Right. Something distorted by shadows and fear.
But the thing is, the descriptions just don't match up with any known wildlife in the area.
A moose calf with no facial features and glowing eyes. I don't think so.
And multiple witnesses describe the same basic features, so it's unlikely they all made the same mistake.
Okay, so if it wasn't a misidentified animal, what else could it be?
Well, that's where things get really interesting, and where we start to delve into the realm of speculation.
The fun part. All right, let's hear it. What are the leading theories?
Well, one theory that always captures the imagination is the extraterrestrial hypothesis.
Aliens. I knew you were going to say that.
But
are we really going there?
hey, I'm just laying out the possibilities.
Okay, fair enough. But come on. What evidence is there to connect the Dover Demon to UFOs?
Well, there were reports of unexplained lights in the sky over Dover around the time of the sightings.
Oh, really? Hadn't heard that.
Yeah, now whether those lights were actually UFOs or just misidentified aircraft or weather phenomena is up for debate.
Sure. But it's an interesting coincidence.
Right. And if we're going down the alien rabbit hole, let's compare the Dover Demon to classic alien descriptions.
Okay.
Large head, thin body, lack of facial features. These are all elements that often pop up in descriptions of extraterrestrials, particularly the so-called gray aliens.
Yeah, I can see that.
But then there are also some differences. The size, for example, the Dover Demon was described as being, 3 or 4 feet tall?
Yeah.
While the grays are usually depicted as being much smaller.
That's true.
So it's not a perfect match. But then again, we're assuming that all extraterrestrial life forms would conform to a single template.
Right. It's a big universe out there.
Exactly. So maybe there's a whole range of alien species out there. Some small, some large, some with features that would seem utterly bizarre to us.
I mean, that's kind of the point of aliens, right? They're supposed to be alien.
Yeah.
So the extraterrestrial theory, it's definitely out there.
Mm-hmm.
But let's move on to another possibility. What about cryptids? Could the Dover Demon be some kind of undiscovered creature?
Yeah, the cryptid theory is a popular one in these kinds of cases, and it's certainly intriguing.
So we're talking about a real flesh and blood creature, but one that science hasn't cataloged yet.
Exactly. Think of creatures like the okapi, a relative of the giraffe that was only discovered in the early 20th century, or the coelacanth, a fish thought to be extinct for millions of years until it was rediscovered in 1938.
Wow. So you're saying the Dover demon might be something similar. A creature that has somehow survived undetected in the forests of New England for centuries.
It's a possibility, though it would require some pretty unique circumstances. For a creature to remain undiscovered for so long, it would need to have a limited range, a specialized habitat, and a way to avoid contact with humans.
So maybe the Dover demon is adapted to living in caves or underground tunnels, something like that.
That's one possibility, or perhaps it has a very specific diet that keeps it confined to a small area.
Okay, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we explain those truly bizarre features? The lack of a mouth, the glowing eyes, the almost alien-like skin.
Well, that's where things get more speculative. But some cryptozoologists believe that those features could be adaptations to a unique environment, perhaps even a subterranean habitat.
So maybe those glowing eyes are an adaptation to low-light conditions, and the lack of a visible mouth is related to specialized diet. Something like that.
Exactly. We just don't have enough information to say, for sure.
It's a stretch, I'll admit. But then again, nature is full of surprises, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. We've got aliens, we've got cryptids. What else is there?
Well, there's one more theory that we need to address, and it's the one that nobody really wants to talk about. But we have to at least consider it.
You mean?
The hoax theory.
Oh, come on. Are you seriously suggesting that the whole Dover demon thing was just a prank?
I'm not saying that's what happened, but we have to be open to all possibilities, right?
I guess so. But it seems unlikely that a group of teenagers could have pulled off something this elaborate.
And why would they? What would they have to gain?
That's a good point. And the witnesses have maintained their stories for decades. There's no indication that they were seeking fame or attention.
In fact, they seem genuinely shaken by their encounters.
Right, plus Bartlett's drawing, done so soon after his sighting, adds a level of authenticity that's hard to fake.
Exactly. And think about the context. A small town, 3 separate groups of teenagers, all describing the same bizarre creature. It seems unlikely that they would have coordinated such an elaborate hoax, especially one that continued to haunt them for years to come.
Okay, I'm convinced the hoax theory is out. So we're back to aliens, cryptids, or something else entirely. Something we haven't even thought of yet.
Right, and that's what makes this case so fascinating. It's a puzzle with missing pieces. It forces us to confront the limits of our knowledge, the possibility that there are things out there that we simply don't understand. But hold on. We've only just scratched the surface here. We still have 2 more sightings to discuss. And trust me, they just make this whole thing even weirder.
Oh man, I can't wait. Let's get into it. What happened next? Who else saw the Dover demon and what did they see?
Well, shortly after Bill Bartlett's encounter, another teenager, John Baxter, was walking home when he spotted something in the shadows. And get this, at first he thought it was one of his friends messing around.
Oh no.
Yeah, he called out to it thinking it was his buddy. But then it turned and, well, let's just say it wasn't his buddy.
That's terrifying.
Mhm.
So what did Baxter see? Did he describe the same creatures that Bartlett saw?
He did large head, thin body, no facial features, but he added some chilling details.
Like what?
He described the creature as having long, thin arms that almost reached its knees, and its fingers were incredibly long and slender, like spider legs almost.
Okay, now we're getting into some serious creep factor territory. Long, spindly limbs, a large, hairless head, and those piercing eyes. It's starting to sound like something out of a nightmare.
And what's interesting is that Baxter, like Bartlett mentioned, the creature's stillness, that unsettling way, it seemed to just observe him. It's almost as if it was studying him, trying to understand what he was.
You know, it's the sense of intelligence, of awareness, that really sets the Dover demon apart from your typical monster in the woods story.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a mindless beast. There was something more going on, something that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up.
It's that element of the unknown, of something that defies easy explanation, that really captures the imagination and keeps people fascinated by this case, even after all these years. It's a reminder that there are still mysteries out there, things we don't fully understand, and that can be both terrifying and exhilarating.
All right, so we've got 2 sightings down, 1 more to go, and this one adds another layer of complexity to the whole Dover demon puzzle. Ready to dive into the final encounter of that fateful night?
Absolutely. Let's hear about Abby Brabham and Will Tainter's run-in with the Dover demon. This one takes place about an hour after John Baxter's sighting, and it introduces some intriguing inconsistencies that have fueled speculation for decades.
Okay, so picture this. Abby Brabham and her boyfriend Will Tainter are driving along Farm Street when they spot the creature crouched by the side of the road. They slow down to get a better look, and what they describe is both familiar and unsettlingly different.
They corroborate many of the details from the previous sightings, the large head, the thin body, the lack of facial features. But there's one key difference that throws a wrench into the whole thing.
And that difference is the eyes. Remember how both Bartlett and Baxter described the creature's eyes as glowing orange?
Well, Bremen described them as green. Not just green, but intensely bright green, like nothing she had ever seen before.
So now we have a new wrinkle in the case. Were there multiple Dover demons, each with different colored eyes?
It's a possibility. Or perhaps the way the creature's eyes reflected light changed depending on the angle or the surrounding environment. Maybe there was something about the car's headlights that caused the eyes to appear green instead of orange.
Okay, that's getting a little technical for me. Yeah, I get the point. We're dealing with a lot of unknowns here, and every new detail seems to raise more questions than answers.
And that's what makes the Dover demon so fascinating. It's a case that resists easy explanations, a puzzle with missing pieces. It forces us to confront the limits of our knowledge, the possibility that there are things out there that we simply don't understand.
So we've laid out the foundation. 3 sightings, a truly bizarre creature, and a whole lot of unanswered questions. We've got the stage set, the characters introduced, and now it's time to dive into the really meaty part of this deep dive.
That's right. We've got a lot more to unpack. We'll delve deeper into the theories, explore the cultural impact of the Dover demon, and examine what attempts have been made to investigate the case using modern technology.
And who knows, maybe we'll get a little closer to understanding what really happened in Dover during those strange few days in 1977.
So let's revisit those theories we were talking about, but with a little more depth this time.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, we talked about aliens, we talked about cryptids, we even touched on the hoax theory.
Right, which we pretty much debunk.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that the Dover demon sightings weren't just some elaborate prank.
So what are we left with? Where do we go from here?
Well, I think the best approach is to examine each theory carefully, weigh the evidence, consider the arguments for and against, and see if any of them hold up under scrutiny.
Okay, sounds like a plan. So let's start with the extraterrestrial theory, the idea that the Dover demon was some kind of alien visitor.
Okay. The alien hypothesis, it's certainly a tempting one, especially when you consider the creature's unusual appearance, the large head, the thin body, the lack of facial features. These are all elements that often pop up in descriptions of extraterrestrials.
Right, it's like something out of a classic sci-fi movie. But is there any real evidence to connect the Dover demon to UFOs?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, there were reports of unexplained lights in the sky over Dover around the time of the sightings.
Right, the UFO connection.
Exactly. Now, whether those lights were actually extraterrestrial spacecraft or just misidentified aircraft or weather phenomena, that's a whole other debate.
Sure, but it's still an interesting coincidence.
Absolutely. And if we're going to entertain the possibility that the Dover demon was an alien, we need to consider what it might have been doing here.
Okay, let's speculate. What was an alien creature doing in a small town in Massachusetts in 1977?
Well, some people believe that it was simply observing us, studying us, like a scientist collecting data.
Kind of like what the witnesses described, that sense of the creature just watching them, studying them.
Exactly. Others suggest that it might have been lost or stranded. Perhaps its spacecraft malfunctioned, and it was forced to seek refuge on Earth.
Okay, I can see that. But it still seems like a pretty big leap to go from unexplained creature to extraterrestrial visitor.
It is, and it's important to remember that the extraterrestrial hypothesis is just that, a hypothesis. It's a possible explanation, but it's not the only one.
Right. So let's move on to the next theory. What about the cryptid theory? The idea that the Dover demon is some kind of undiscovered species, a real creature that just hasn't been officially documented by science.
Yeah, the cryptid theory. It's a fascinating one, and it's actually more plausible than you might think.
Really? How so?
Well, think about it. We're still discovering new species all the time. Even in the 21st century, there are still vast areas of the planet that are largely unexplored, and there are undoubtedly creatures out there that we haven't encountered yet.
That's true. I mean, we're always hearing about new insects and fish being discovered. But something as large and unusual as the Dover demon, it just seems unlikely that it would have gone unnoticed for so long.
I understand your skepticism, but consider the possibility that the Dover demon is a relic species, a creature that has somehow managed to survive relatively unchanged for millions of years, often in isolated environments. These are creatures that have survived mass extinctions, climate change, and all sorts of other challenges. They're like living fossils, a glimpse into the distant past.
Like the coelacanth, the fish that was thought to be extinct for millions of years until it was rediscovered in the 20th century.
Exactly. So maybe the Dover demon is something similar, a creature that has somehow persisted in the forests of New England for centuries. hidden away from human eyes.
It's a fascinating idea.
Yeah.
But if the Dover demon is a real creature, how do we explain those truly bizarre features? The lack of a mouth, the glowing eyes, the almost alien-like skin. It's unlike anything we've ever seen before.
I know, it's definitely strange, but nature is full of surprises. And it's possible that those features are adaptations to a unique environment, or perhaps they're the result of some kind of genetic mutation.
A mutation. So you're
Yeah.
saying the Dover demon might be some kind of genetic anomaly?
Yeah.
A freak of nature.
It's possible. And if that's the case, it would make it even more unique, even more mysterious.
Okay, I'm starting to see where you're going with this. So
Yeah.
we've got aliens, we've got cryptids, and now we've got genetic mutations. Is there anything else?
Well, there are a few other theories out there, but they tend to be more speculative, more on the fringe. And some people believe that the Dover demon might be a type of interdimensional being, a creature that can shift between different realities.
Okay. Now we're getting into some serious sci-fi territory. Interdimensional beings, parallel universes. Is that really a possibility?
It's hard to say. The idea of multiple dimensions is a concept that physicists have been exploring for decades. And there's some evidence to suggest that it might be more than just a theoretical possibility. But whether or not there are creatures that can travel between these dimensions, that's a question that we just don't have an answer to.
So if the Dover demon was an interdimensional being, what was it doing in our dimension? Why was it here?
That's a good question. And there are a lot of different theories. Some people believe that it was simply passing through, that it accidentally stumbled into our reality. Others suggest that it might have been drawn here for some specific purpose. Maybe it was looking for something, or maybe it was trying to communicate with us.
Wow. It's like something out of a comic book.
I know, it sounds far-fetched, but then again, so does the idea of a creature with no mouth and glowing eyes.
That's true. Okay, so we've got aliens, we've got cryptids, we've got genetic mutations, and we've got interdimensional beings. What else is there?
Well, there's one more category of theories that we need to address, and that's the paranormal explanations.
Paranormal. You mean like ghosts and demons?
Not necessarily. The paranormal realm is vast and encompasses a wide range of phenomena. It could be a creature from folklore, a spirit connected to the land, or even a manifestation of collective fear or anxiety.
Okay, that's getting a little abstract for me, but I'm willing to keep an open mind. So if we're going down the paranormal route, what are some of the specific theories about the Dover demon?
Well, some people believe that the Dover demon might be a type of shapeshifter, a creature that can change its form at will.
A shapeshifter?
Yeah.
Like a werewolf or something?
Not exactly. Shapeshifters are often associated with folklore and mythology, but there are also reports of shapeshifting creatures from all over the world, creatures that seem to defy easy categorization. And the Dover demon, with its bizarre appearance and its ability to seemingly vanish into thin air, it certainly fits the bill.
I could see that. So maybe the Dover demon was just messing with those teenagers, changing its shape to scare them. Or maybe it was trying to disguise itself to avoid detection.
It's possible, and it's a theory that's hard to prove or disprove because by its very nature, a shapeshifter is elusive, hard to pin down.
Right. It's like chasing a shadow.
Exactly.
Okay, so we got aliens, we've got cryptids, we've got genetic mutations, we've got interdimensional beings, and now we've got shapeshifters. Is that it? Are we done?
Well, there are a few other theories out there,
Yeah.
but I think we've covered the main ones.
Okay, so what's the verdict? What do you think the Dover demon was? I know you're not supposed to take sides, but
Come on.
you must have an opinion.
I do, but I'm going to keep it to myself for now.
Oh, come on, don't leave us hanging.
I think it's important for our listeners to form their own conclusions, to weigh the evidence and decide what they believe.
Okay, fair enough.
Mm.
But I'm still curious to hear your thoughts. Maybe later, off the record.
Maybe.
All right. So we've explored the theories, but there's still so much more to discuss. We need to talk about the cultural impact of the Dover demon. How this creature, despite only being sighted for a few days, has had a lasting legacy. It's become a part of cryptozoology lore, hasn't it?
Absolutely. The Dover demon, though only cited for a brief period, has had a lasting impact on popular culture. It's been featured in books, documentaries, even TV shows like Lost Tapes and Monster Quest, and of course, it's a mainstay in the world of paranormal podcasts and online forums.
It's interesting how something so localized, a creature seen in just one small town, can become this global phenomenon. Why do you think the Dover demon has resonated with so many people for so long?
Yeah, it's really something how this one creature seen in this tiny little town has become this global icon almost.
Right. It's like it tapped into something primal, something, I don't know. It's hard to explain. But people are drawn to it, to the mystery of it.
It's the unknown, isn't it? It's that that fear of the dark, of the things that go bump in the night, the Dover demon, it represents that. It represents the things we don't understand, the things that could be out there, just beyond our perception.
And the fact that it was never explained, never captured,
Yeah,
it just adds to the mystique, doesn't it?
absolutely. It leaves the door open for speculation, for imagination. People can fill in the blanks with their own theories, their own fears.
So it becomes a kind of Rorschach test
Yeah.
for our collective anxieties.
In a way, yes. And that's part of what makes it so enduring. It's a story that we can keep telling and retelling, each time adding our own interpretations, our own layers of meaning.
And it's not just the story itself. It's the imagery, the way
Yeah.
the Dover demon looks. It's so otherworldly, so unsettling. It's like something out of a nightmare.
It definitely has a striking visual. That large, hairless head, those glowing eyes, the spindly limbs. It's not something you'd easily forget.
And it's been immortalized in a way. Through drawings, through descriptions, through pop culture. It's become this iconic monster.
And speaking of pop culture, the Dover demon has definitely made its mark there.
Oh yeah, it's been featured in books,
Yep.
movies, TV shows, you name it. It's become a staple of the paranormal.
It's like it's taken on a life of its own beyond the original sightings.
And what about Dover itself? The town where it all began. How has the Dover demon affected the town?
Well, it's become a bit of a tourist destination. For those interested in the paranormal, people come to Dover hoping to catch a glimpse of the demon, or at least to walk the same streets where the sightings took place. There are even Dover demon-themed events, like ghost tours and monster hunts.
Wow. So the town has embraced the legend, in a way.
To some extent, yes. It's brought a certain amount of attention and even revenue to Dover.
But I imagine it's a mixed bag for the residents. Some
Yeah.
probably love it, while others, well, they probably just wish the whole thing would go away.
Yeah, I'm sure there are mixed feelings. It's one thing to be fascinated by a legend, but it's another thing to have that legend attached to your hometown.
Especially when it's a legend about a creepy creature that might be lurking in the shadows.
Exactly.
But beyond the tourism and the pop culture references, the Dover demon has also sparked a lot of serious investigation, hasn't it? People have tried to use science to explain it, to find evidence of its existence.
Oh, yeah. There have been numerous attempts to investigate the Dover demon using modern technology.
Like what kinds of things have people tried?
Well, some paranormal investigators have visited Dover with the hopes of capturing evidence of the creature, using a variety of techniques including night vision cameras, motion sensors, and even EVP recorders, electronic voice phenomena.
And have they found anything?
There have been some intriguing anomalies captured, but nothing that definitively proves the existence of the Dover demon.
So the mystery remains unsolved.
For now, at least.
Well, maybe that's part of the appeal. The fact that it's still an open question. It leaves room for wonder, for imagination. And maybe, just maybe, one day we'll get a definitive answer.
Maybe. But until then, the Dover demon will continue to haunt our imaginations and remind us that there are still mysteries in this world that we may never fully understand.
Well said. Well, folks, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive into the Dover demon.
It's been a fascinating journey into the heart of the unknown.
I want to thank you for joining us. And as always, keep your eyes open. You never know what you might see out there.
And keep an open mind. The truth is out there somewhere.